say you're pro-vaccine. Just want to ask some questions. And yet your organization is making money selling a child's product to parents for $26, which casts fundamental doubt on the usefulness.
All right, in this video today, we're going to take a look at the top 5 most heated moments during Bobby Kennedy's confirmation hearings. He did one yesterday and one today. And where I want to start first is with Bernie Sanders, who gets called out to his face about how much money he's received from Big Pharma. Watch.
So I think in many ways, President Trump and Mr. Kennedy have asked some of the right questions. Problem is their answers will only make a bad situation worse. So let me ask Mr. Kennedy again. If we want to make America healthy, will you assure the American people that you will fight to do what every other major country on earth does, guarantee health care to every single American?
I'm going to make America healthier than other countries in the world right now.
Will you guarantee do what every other major country does? That's a simple question.
And by the way, Bernie, the problem of corruption is not just in the federal agencies, it's in Congress too. Almost all the members of this panel are accepting, including yourself, are accepting millions of dollars from the pharmaceutical industry.
And
protecting their interests.
Oh, I thought that would come. No. I ran for president like you. I got millions and millions of contributions. They did not come from the executives, not one nickel of PAC money from the pharmaceutical industry. They came from workers.
In 2020, you were the single largest
because I had
pharmaceutical
contributions from workers all over this country. Workers,
you were the
not a nickel from corporate
PACs.
PACs.
You were the single largest acceptor of pharmaceutical dollars.
No, from workers in
1.5 million.
Yeah, out of 200 million. All right,
so that's what happens when you continue to push Bobby to the limit, and then he has to expose you in front of everybody. I just find it fascinating that these individuals, they get up there and they try to judge the nominees as if they're not doing the thing that they're accusing these nominees of doing, right? And of course, we have the receipts. Let's actually look at who donated to Bernie Sanders' campaign. Okay, during the last election cycle in 2020 for Bernie Sanders, health professionals comes in at number 5 with the amount of $3.7 million. Then you've got hospital and nursing homes at $3.2 million. And then you have, if you scroll down even more, insurance, 1.5, and then miscellaneous health at 1.3. You can't tell me Big Pharma did not donate to his campaign. Of course they did. All right, so let's move to the second heated moment here. And this came yesterday when Bernie Sanders, I guess his blood pressure skyrocketed because he, I guess, has a problem with onesies being sold on a website. And the language on the onesies are promoting people to not support vaccines. And he believes it's Bobby's fault. Watch it for yourself.
Let me do a last question here because I'm running out of time. I think the gist of what you're trying to say today is you're really pro-vaccine. You want to ask questions. You have started a group called the Children's Health Defense. You're the originator. Right now, as I understand it, on their website, they are selling what's called onesies. These are little things, clothing for babies. One of them is titled Unvaxxed, Unafraid. Next one, and they're sold for $26 a piece, by the way. Next one is No Vax, No Problem. Now, you're coming before this committee and you say you're pro-vaccine. Just want to ask some questions. And yet your organization is making money selling a child's product to parents for $26, which casts fundamental doubt on the usefulness of vaccines. Can you tell us now that you will, now that you are pro-vaccine, that you're going to have your organization take these products off the market?
Senator, I have no power over that organization. I'm not part of it. I resigned from the board.
Yeah, that was just a few months ago. You founded that. You certainly have power. You can make that call. Are you supportive of this?
I've had nothing to do with
Are you
leadership.
supportive of these onesies?
I'm supportive of vaccines.
Are you supportive of this clothing, which is militantly anti-vaccine?
I am supportive of vaccines. I will. I want good science, and I want to protect.
But you will not tell the organization you founded not to continue selling that product. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Just think about how ridiculous this is, right? He's so pressed about a onesie. Okay, it's freedom of speech. It's a nonprofit. They can sell whatever shirt that they want to. Bobby is not on the board anymore. That there was a public release stating that back in December. So I don't know where Bernie Sanders is trying to go. And this is a theme you're going to see throughout this video. I just believe the Democratic Party, they are disorganized. They're all over the place and they're desperate. And so they're going to do anything they can possible to stop the nomination from happening. Now, let's move to the third heated moment. This is between Bobby and Elizabeth Pocahontas Warren. And I don't think you're going to be shocked by what she's all pressed about.
I want to know if you will commit right now that not only will you not go to work for drug companies, you won't go to work suing the drug companies and taking your rake out of that while you're a secretary and for 4 years after. It's just
I'll commit to not taking any fees from drug companies while I'm secretary.
No. I'm asking about fees from suing drug companies. Will you agree not to do that?
You're asking me to not sue drug companies,
No,
and I'm not going to agree to that,
drug
Senator.
companies as much as you want.
I'm not going to agree to not sue drug companies or anybody.
So
Okay, so the only problem with Elizabeth Warren is she has zero credibility, because if you do your research and find out who's been paying her, you would find that all these questions that she's asking, she's the one that actually needs to answer for herself. Now, Congresswoman Nancy Mace put this up on X. Speaking of shills, Senator Warren raked in over $5.2 million from Big Pharma and the medical industrial complex. And of course, she has the receipts here from Open Secrets that we all can obviously look up. And if you look at the industries that donated to her campaign, health professionals come in at number 5, which is Big Pharma, at $2.3 million.
And I'm asking you to commit right now that you will not take a financial stake in every one of those lawsuits, so that what you do as secretary will also benefit you financially down the line.
I'll comply with all the ethical guidelines.
That's not the question. You and I, you have said
You're asking me,
repeatedly,
Senator,
both
you're asking me not to
ends-
sue vaccine
No,
pharmaceutical
I am
companies.
not. My
Yeah, you
question
are.
is stop
That's exactly what
enriching
you're doing.
health. One should be fooled here.
I
As
fought
Secretary
from-
of HHS, Robert Kennedy will have the power to undercut vaccines and vaccine manufacturing across our country. And for all of his talk about follow the science and his promise that he won't interfere with those of us who want to vaccinate his kids, the bottom line is the same. Kennedy can kill off access to vaccines and make millions of dollars while he does it. Kids might die, but Robert Kennedy can keep cashing in.
Okay, so we know that she went off the deep end there, okay? And this is going to backfire on the Democratic Party. And one of the biggest reasons why is because moderate Democrats will be pissed off by this confirmation hearing. They do not respect the way that individuals like Elizabeth Warren question Bobby. And I'll explain why. It's because they've lost all credibility when it comes to protecting children. Think about what they did to children during COVID. Think about what they've done to children when it comes to more than 2 genders, puberty blockers, mutilating them. I mean, as far as parents go, moderate Democrats do not trust their children with the Democratic Party. That has been proven, especially in this past election. Now, for sweet justice, the chairman of this committee had to set Elizabeth Warren straight.
Senator, I support vaccines. I support the childhood schedule. I will do that. The only thing I want is good science, and that's it.
How about then say you won't make money off what you do as Secretary of HHS?
Before we go to Senator Tillis, I think would be important for me to make it very clear that Mr. Kennedy has gone through the same Office of Government Ethics process as every single other nominee in the Finance Committee this year and in previous administrations. In addition to listing his assets, including the items that you've identified, he has signed an ethics letter that has been reviewed by the Office of Government Ethics concerning any possible conflict in light of its functions and the nominee's proposed duties. And we have a letter from the Office of Government Ethics that he hasn't complied completely with all applicable laws and regulations governing conflicts of interest.
That's exactly what she deserves. She made a fool of herself. And I would think for someone with her experience, she would ask intelligent questions, not questions that lead to no return on investment. What did she get out of questioning him in that way, except double downing on the narrative that lost them the election, right? She's crying at the idea that he's going to financially benefit somehow. But she's a person who's been financially benefiting for the fact that she's a senator in Congress. Again, hypocrisy at peak levels here. Now we're going to move to this next heated moment because he is being accused of pushing rhetoric that antidepressant medication causes school shootings. Of course, he has to fact check her because she took his comments out of context, which is a recurring theme throughout this entire confirmation hearing. But let's go ahead and watch it.
So let me ask you, in an interview in 2023 and again in 2024, you blamed school shootings on antidepressants. You said, and this is a quote, "There is no time in American history or human history that kids were going to shoot schools and shooting their classmates. It really started happening coterminous with the introduction of these drugs, with Prozac and with other drugs." So do you believe, as you've said, that antidepressants cause school shootings? This should be a simple question.
I don't think anybody can answer that question, and I didn't answer that question. I said it
So
should be
your answer
studied.
is,
I said it should be studied along with other potential culprits
so
like
they may cause.
social media. But I don't know. I would never make, because there's no science on that,
Well,
Senator.
there is, Senator, there is, Mr. Kennedy.
Thank you for the promotion.
The science shows that there is no link between school shootings and antidepressants. And in fact, most school shooters were not even treated with antidepressants. And of those that were, there was no evidence of association. You know,
I don't think you
My
can say
question is-
that, Senator, because HIPAA rules, nobody knows.
well, that is, Mr. Kennedy, do you think that people who take antidepressants are dangerous?
All right. So once again, this is the Democratic Party taking one snippet of what an individual has said and turning it into something that it is not. And if you actually read the full transcript of the interviews that she was referencing, which is his interview with Bill Maher, and it's on YouTube. Now, one of the big quotes from that interview is this, quote, "When I was a kid, schools had shooting clubs where kids brought rifles to school. Kids have always had access to guns, but they weren't going into schools and shooting their classmates. That really started happening alongside the introduction of these drugs, including social media, the rise of violent video games, the erosion of traditional family structures, the mental health crisis, and increased prescription rates of SSRIs." He also goes on to say that correlation does not prove causation, but it's something that we should be looking at. So he does not directly say that school shootings are due to antidepressant. He's saying there's a multitude of things that has contributed to what we're experiencing. Again, she doesn't want to hear it.
Americans. Close to 40% of folks on Medicaid have a behavioral health condition. And you would be part of this administration that would be looking to cut Medicaid. So, Mr. Kennedy, these statements that you've made linking antidepressants to school shootings, they reinforce the stigma that people who experience mental health every day face every single day. And I'm very concerned that this is another example of your record of sharing false and misleading information that actually really hurts people.
Senator, you're
Thank you, Mr.
mischaracterizing my statements.
I am only putting into the record what you have said, Mr. Kennedy.
You're mischaracterizing my statements, and do you think physicians, when they make that prescription, ought to have access to good science?
Of course they do, and I
That's
don't
all I
think that,
believe too. And you and I are in agreement, Senator.
and to your point that you made when you made these statements, it was not based on good science. I don't know what it was based on.
I was saying the science needed to be done. I was saying these are potential culprits We're coterminous, and I named other things. I said video games. I said social media. I said SSRIs. SSRIs have a black box warning of suicidal, homicidal behavior.
Mr. Chair, I will submit to the chair the information that I have about what Mr. Kennedy has said, linking antidepressants to school shootings. Thank you.
Okay, so at this point, you can tell it's personal. He's threatening the very thing that feeds their pockets, which is the donations from Big Pharma. Everybody knows that. And then her assertion that he was trying to connect antidepressants to school shootings, I think is unprofessional on her behalf. Now, speaking of school shootings, we know gun safety is really the issue here, which is why today's sponsor is StopBox USA. Now, if you own a handgun for self-defense, what's the point if you can't reach it when it matters most? Lock it up and it's out of reach, leave it out and it's a risk. You shouldn't have to choose. That's why StopBox USA created the StopBox Pro, a game changer for gun owners. No keys, no batteries, just a simple push button locking system that gives you fast, reliable access when every second counts. It's 100% mechanical, so it works every time, no power needed. Safe, secure, ready when you need it. And that's why for a limited time only, they're offering my listeners a crazy deal. You can get 10% off your entire order when you use promo code DeVory by going to StopBoxUSA.com or hitting the link in the description below. And they are doing a buy one, get one free for their StopBox Pro. Again, that's 10% off your entire order and a free StopBox Pro when you use promo code DeVory at StopBoxUSA.com. Discover a better way to balance security and readiness with StopBox. Now, I actually saved the worst for last, and that is Congressman Whitten, okay, who I don't know what his deal is, but he's got something up his you-know-what, because the way he asks questions just makes you sick in your stomach. But again, Bobby, he is prepared, but his answers sometimes are so intelligent that they don't even understand what he just said. It goes over their head. Watch it for yourself.
I have spent years pushing conflicting stories about vaccines. You say one thing and then you say another. In your testimony today under oath, you denied that you were anti-vaccine. But during a podcast interview in July of 2023, you said, quote, "No vaccine is safe and effective." In your testimony today, in order to prove you're not anti-vax, you note that all your kids are vaccinated. But in a podcast in 2020, you said, and I quote, "You would do anything, pay anything to go back in time and not vaccinate your kids." Mr. Kennedy, all of these things cannot be true. So, are you lying to Congress today when you say you are pro-vaccine? Or did you lie on all those podcasts? We have all of this on tape, by the way.
Yeah, Senator, as you know, because it's been repeatedly debunked, that statement that I made on the Lex Friedman podcast was a fragment of the statement. He asked me, and anybody who actually goes and looks at that podcast and will see this. He asked me, are there vaccines that are safe and effective? And I said to him, some of the live virus vaccines are. And I said, there are no vaccines that are safe and effective. And I was going to continue for every person. Every medicine has people who are sensitive to them, including vaccines.
Right. So
he interrupted me at that point. I've corrected it many times, including on national TV. You know about this, Senator Wyden. So bringing this up right now is dishonest.
Okay, so why don't I just play that clip that the senator is referencing so we can see it in full context. Watch this.
And you've said that you're not anti-vaccine, you're pro-safe vaccine. Difficult question. Can you name any vaccines that you think are good?
I think some of the live virus vaccines are probably averting more problems than they're causing. There's no vaccine that is, safe and effective.
Those are big words. What about the polio? Can we talk about the?
Well, here's the problem.
Yes.
Here's the problem.
Which again is on YouTube, Lex Friedman podcast. You can go see all this for yourself. You will see that this is like the Fine People hoax. They take the clip and then they run with it and turn it into something that it's not. Let's continue.
let's be clear about what you've actually done then, since you want to deny your statements. For example, you have a history of trying to take vaccines away from people. In May of 2021, you petitioned the Food and Drug Administration to not only block Americans from having access to the COVID vaccine, but to prevent any future access to the life-saving vaccine. Are you denying that? Your name is on the petition.
We brought that petition after CDC recommended the COVID vaccine without any scientific basis for 6-year-old children. Most experts agree today, even the people who did it back then, that COVID vaccines are inappropriate for 6-year-old children who basically have a zero risk from COVID. That's why I brought that lawsuit. I don't want to, I want to emphasize
Mr. Kennedy, the facts.
That's when things really went off the rails, because there are protesters actually on both sides in that hearing, because it clearly demonstrates what's wrong with the Democratic Party. It's already enough that there were some Republicans that were against Bobby here. However, the Democrats did not do themselves any favors. In fact, I think they made it worse on themselves, because instead of actually focusing on key issues like obesity, heart disease, high blood pressure, I mean, none of that actually came up during this hearing. It was all about his past statements, because they're scared that he's going to kill Americans, but they are forgetting the Americans that have died under their watch. Now, do we need to show you a picture of the current acting secretary of HHS? I'm sure you don't want to see that, but they would have you believe that he's the one that's actually dangerous. All right, so answer this in the comment section below. Given everything that you've seen from that hearing, do you believe at the end of the day he's going to get confirmed? Let me know your answer in the comment section below. Now, he's not the only one that caught heat yesterday. Federal workers also got a nightmare warning from President Trump, as he has given them an ultimatum: return back to work by February 6th, or you will be fired. And if you guys want to check out that story and more bombshell announcements from last night, all you have to do is click on that video, because it's coming up right now.